Today, you're going to learn everything you need to know about lists in HTML. And I'm going to use Mozilla Developer Network's article on lists to kind of use the supplementary material here. But lists are kind of everywhere in life, from your shopping list to the list of directions you subconsciously follow to get to your house every day, to the list of instructions you are following to these tutorials. They are everywhere in the web as well. So lists are definitely important to know. And when it comes to HTML, you kind of have two main types of lists. You have unordered and ordered lists. So for unordered lists here, they're used to mark up lists of items for which the order of the items doesn't really matter. And an example of this is something like a shopping list. You have milk, eggs, bread, hummus. Definitely not on my shopping list, but there's no like real order to these. You don't really care whether you pick up the eggs or the milk or the bread first. You just care that you get all these when you go grocery shopping. So this is an example of an unordered list. And to create this unordered list, you would wrap these list items in a UL element or an unordered list element. And this is going to be your container element for your unordered list. And then as it says here, the last step is to wrap each list item in an LI element or a list item element. So here you can see you have your container here, which basically tells the browser that I'm going to create an unordered list here. And then all of your list items still go within these LI tags, and this creates an unordered list of these 4 different list items, and your browser output will look like this right here. Now you also have ordered lists, and these are items in which the order does matter. So if you take a set of directions as an example, the order you do those directions matters, like drive to the end of the road, turn right, go straight. If you first went straight and then you turned right and then you drove to the end of the road, you'd probably end up in a completely different destination. So the order does matter. And to make an ordered list, instead of wrapping everything in a UL, you're actually going to wrap everything in an OL, standing for ordered list. So here, when I want to create this ordered list, I use an OL element here. So opening and closing tags, and this is going to be the container for my ordered list. And then for every item within my ordered list, I still wrap that in a list item element. So here I have my ordered list as my container, and then every item within this ordered list is going to be wrapped in an LI. So the only difference between an ordered list and an unordered list here is that an unordered list, it's going to have a UL as a container, but it's going to have the same LI elements. And then an ordered list is going to have an OL as a container, standing for ordered list, but you're still wrapping all of your items within list item elements. Now, you can also nest lists or have lists within lists. And it mentions here it's perfectly okay to have a list within a list. You might want to have some sub bullets sitting below a top level bullet. And take an example of a recipe earlier. If you have an ordered list container here, you might have several different list items within it. But within those list items, you might have kind of sub lists. And this goes on to say, since the last 2 bullets are very closely related to the one before them, it might make sense to nest them inside their own unordered list and put that list inside the current 4th bullet. So what that would look like is we have our overall ordered list, and then we have our first 3 list items here. And then for our 4th list item, it gets a little bit more complex here, in which we have our LI, our opening tag, and then we have process all the ingredients into a paste. And then before we close this list item, we open up an unordered list container, and then we have 2 more LIs within that unordered list container. And then we close our unordered list, and then we close our LI here. And then we close our overall OL. So we have our main container, our kind of root container OL here, 3 list items, but then in the 4th list item, before we close that list item, if we want to have a list within a list here, we open up another container element. In this case, it's a UL, unordered list, but it could be an OL as well. And then we put our list items within this. We close our nested list, and then we close our list item, and then we close our kind of outermost list. So this is how you could create a sublist within an overall list in HTML. And really, that's all you need to know about lists within HTML. In my next video, we'll cover emphasis and importance in HTML.